I've been waiting for some shit like that. Yo, Joker 2 for Adugu is horrible. Why?
Jinkies. That was
Why is it bad? Are those tarot cards?
not good. I had a couple friends of mine see this movie before I did, and they all hated it. And I'd already seen a lot of the buzz
Hated it?
online about it not being very good. And I just thought to myself
Hey,
that it
what's up?
couldn't possibly be as bad as
Joker, Folie, Adugu's breakdown, ending explained and detailed. Error. Error. Did you watch the 5-minute deleted scene of Joker in the Batman movie?
people were saying. But hooey! It's really just not good. It's a shockingly confusing fumble of a sequel. Like, the most fun I had going to see the new Joker movie was in the car ride to and from it because I was listening.
Okay. Do you even watch the movie? It's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece in my opinion. Brother is not cooking.
The Warhammer 40k lore on the Horus Heresy. And just listening to that was better than seeing Joker Folie Deux. Fair warning, I'm going to be getting into the nitty gritty. I will be dumping spoilers on you out the wazoo for this film just to give you my full thoughts on all of it. It is...
Yeah, with that, I thought they like canceled that Joker.
Is confusing how badly this movie...
Let's hear him out. You know, we've listened, we checked out a bunch of his videos already. He does cook, but listen.
He missed the mark. Like, I know sequels are never really going to be as good as the original. That's always such a tall order. Like, that is an almost impossible Herculean task. But this one is way off. Like, it is just not close. And I wasn't surprised that there's so many musical numbers in it. That was well established a long time ago that this was going to be like a pseudo-musical to a certain extent. I'm not a fan of musicals in any way, shape, or form, really. There's a few of them I like, but overall, it's not one of my favorites. But I was willing
That's understandable, but I would say the movie's not overbearing with musicals.
to go in with an open mind if it was a good movie and if the musical numbers somehow added to it, but...
I said it in the new Rockstar video, but I feel like people that did not like this movie or people that don't understand people using music as their therapy or people that don't take mental illness seriously. I'm not saying that he doesn't take mental illness seriously. I don't know this guy that well, but just in a general statement,
they don't. The music's fine. Like, I don't think the music is bad or anything, but the musical numbers actually just feel like filler content to try and distract you from how choppy and clusterfucky the movie itself
is, to show him disassociating with the issues of the movie, the drama.
is. Like, it feels like they were a big afterthought that they needed to just start inserting to fill space. Because this isn't a sequel that was planned. The Joker movie was supposed to be a one-off, but it made so much money that they came back for a sequel. And it really does feel like a soulless cash grab. It doesn't have a story to tell. It doesn't have a point. There's some cool scenes, and a couple of the musical sequences have some really impressive visuals, but they don't add anything, and a lot of the musical numbers don't even tie into the scene that preceded them.
You're telling me the part where they were talking about Arthur's trauma and then him not being able to deal with it.
They're totally isolated in Arthur's...
Dude, I just can't talk, which makes me look like I'm not cooking. Fuck. The part where it teleports into his mind and then he uses the music to escape the situation, but then he uses that method and then it runs out and then he crashes out in the courtroom. You're telling me that doesn't make sense?
Head, like in his fantasy, and they don't actually even relate to anything narratively, so it just feels kind of worthless. Not all of them, but I'd say
okay. You said not all of them.
Probably the majority of them don't actually even relate to what's happening plot-wise. They just are a random musical number. Some of them do relate and they're okay, like they're not awful, but I just think it would have been more effective if they just talked instead of sang at each other. That happens a lot. So like Arthur will be mid-conversation with somebody and then he'll just like break out into song. and I come.
Because that's is giving us an insight to his brain, his thought process in that situation, but then it snapbacks to reality.
And I cry, and I look in the mirror, and I say,
Actually, that's not what he said.
who is that guy? Because society is seeming on the brink, and when I sleep with it.
The first comment, somebody commented on the trailer with, this is like, this is like watching your wedding video after the
An itchy ass, my finger will stink. And it's like, what the fuck is this? Like, it becomes unbearable how often that happens in this movie. By the 8th or 9th musical sequence like that, I got up to go take a tinkle break, and I heavily contemplated just going home. I don't want
just going home.
to exaggerate and say this is like the worst movie I've ever seen, because it's not. It's not even the worst movie of the year, not even close. That honor still goes to Borderlands movie. It's also not the worst sequel ever made, but it is probably.
You're telling me his pain is shit? You're telling me him getting R-ward doesn't mean anything? You're telling me him finding hope in Harley Quinn and not wanting to die anymore, but then losing that is shit?
Probably the most disappointing sequel I've seen.
It's good.
It just doesn't have a point. And these musical numbers
Doesn't have a point.
it just doesn't have a point. And these musical numbers just feel like bloat to try and take your attention away.
Alright, bro, you clip for me as I clicked on the clip, the creation. You think I'm playing? You think I'm playing? Look. Fuck. You got me, buddy. See, look, it's right there, it's right there. You're telling me him getting R-ward doesn't mean anything? Hey, you got me. Let's play the video.
From how weak the story is. This isn't really a Joker movie, it's more of like a Harley Quinn origin story, which would have been fine if it was good. It's just not. It also feels like Todd Phillips has regrets and isn't proud of the first movie, because
Perfect title for this video. Old man raises his blood pressure, getting angry and knock off Jesus Christ shitting on Joker. Yo, should I title it like that?
a lot of what happens
Dude, should I post it on the main channel too?
in this movie is undoing a lot of what the first one
Oh my god, is it lagging again? Fuck.
did. So the Joker's not even really in this movie. I'm just going to tell you right now, it's mainly Arthur Fleck just being sad. Like Arthur Fleck going through bad things. He is completely regressed into just the old Arthur Fleck who doesn't have that.
Well, yeah, the first movie was based on him going fucking insane. His origin story. His obviously is not by the comic books and all that. It's its own different thing, as I believe the director said, that is not going to be a continuation or is not going to be in the main plot of DC stuff. It's its own separate thing.
That Joker persona anymore and that like confidence or anything. But I do want to be clear, I still think Joaquin Phoenix does an incredible job with this character. Okay. I just think the writing around him was significantly weaker
better
on this rodeo.
Perfect.
Lady Gaga I also think does a really good job as Harley Quinn. Yes. But it's just really frustrating how
dude, I saw some people saying that Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is so much better just because of how they look like. I was like, what the fuck? It's so crazy.
It feels like they just ham-fisted musical numbers in here because Lady Gaga is such a good singer. So pretty much every scene she's in, she's singing. Like, I don't think she really got a chance to shine and show, like, her acting prowess, and I think she's a great actress. Instead, she just is forced to just sing every time she's on screen. So I think that just takes away from the character as well. But anyway, the Joker is not really a character in this movie. Even when he's in the makeup and trying to puff out his chest and put on the act of being the Joker, it is unrecognizable from how it was in the first movie. It feels so forced, and in this movie, the Joker's just kind of a fucking moron. Like, he's actually just kind of an idiot. So a big component of this is him going to trial. And you've seen the trailers, I'm sure. He ends up representing himself. And I thought that was going to be the turning point where most of the movie had been back and forth on Arthur and Joker. Harley is obsessed with Joker, not Arthur. She doesn't care about Arthur that much. It's the Joker that she loves.
Yes.
And when that happens and he fires his lawyer in the middle of the courtroom, I thought it was going to be like, oh, he's going to go into that Joker we saw at the end of the first movie. He doesn't. And really, the entire courtroom drama section...
I think that's the thing about the ending. I think is more enjoyable because it's actually a real... It could be like a real thing, like a real life situation. Not saying that that whole thing is real, but let's say if it was real, like the human mind, and it's like a person battling with the demon side, like an actual demon side of him, and then the just a regular person. Like I like it that it's not like predictable. It wasn't like oh, he's gonna kill everyone, he's gonna get free and all that, but the real person of him snapped back into him, and then it went a different direction. And I don't know, for me, I just think that was more enjoyable to watch than just regular shit
of this movie, which is a huge
predictable shit
piece of it, is just
which made the whole him escaping hit so much harder, in my opinion, because I wasn't expecting it at all.
So flat, because it's a complete steamroll. Like, we saw everything that happened in the first Joker movie, but a good chunk of this trial is them just telling you what all of us already saw from the first movie. So it just becomes kind of wasteful. The only good moment of the trial is when Gary takes the stand. That back and forth between Gary and the Joker is by far the best part of this whole movie. And it doesn't last that long. Everything else in the courtroom is just really underwhelming. There's nothing the Joker or Arthur or his team can really do to get him out of that situation.
And like, come on, you gotta keep in mind, the movie is about him defending his case in a court. Like, what typical DC Marvel type of movie would that be enjoyable to watch? Like, come on.
So you're just seeing him get fucking slapped by the consequences of his actions, which could have been fine. Like, I think that's a fine narrative point to go down, but there needed to be something in there to make it worth watching, because basically what we're getting is like a lore dump.
It's the first movie. The reason why I was so hyped to check out the second one was because of how much I love the first one. And like he said, I don't know if this is facts or not, but they weren't planning to make a second one. So if that's reality, then they don't have anything to continue it. So they're gonna be basing it on the court and all that. And that's the reason I wanted to watch it, because the first one was so good, and I needed to figure out like what happens next, and then what did happen next was satisfying in my opinion.
Recap of what we've already seen. And even when Arthur tries to slip into the Joker in the courtroom, it just doesn't work in my opinion. Like, he doesn't make any arguments.
Personally, I think the movie would have been so much better if the Joker and Arthur locked their hands together and jumped in the air to freeze frame, shouting, this truly was a Joker, Folie à Deux.
He doesn't even like try. It just doesn't work in my opinion. Like, he doesn't make any arguments. He doesn't even like try and defend himself or make some kind of statement.
That's because he's insane. Is showing how his responses aren't normal because he's insane.
Or anything at all.
Dude, the whole part with Gary, I think Gary's the guy that saw the his other coworker getting killed by Arthur. I think that's Gary. Because literally Arthur was just joking and saying like, is that actually your last name? And then Arthur was like, I would like to remind you that you're on what's it called? You're on trial, or you're under oath and all that. Like, dude, he's insane.
He just talks in a circle. Ineffective.
Bro's turning on into Dante 1 hour reaction
and then
Joe. We're 7 minutes in. I'm already 15 minutes in the recording. Okay.
He
play the video.
imagines himself killing some people, but that's it. Like, it just doesn't work. I didn't think it worked at all when he tried to be the Joker here. Especially when you consider that a good chunk of this film is dedicated to try and get the audience to buy into the idea that Arthur and the Joker are separate, like it's a split personality. Like, that's his defense's argument that they try and make to help him out in court. And they really try and make you buy into that idea. They even have like an animation that plays at the beginning of the movie, and that video is supposed to try and, like, I don't know, kind of push you down that thought process. But that is so stupid. That doesn't work at all because you've seen the first movie. Like, you've already seen the first movie. Why are we even trying that? It wasn't executed very well. Like, that whole idea of...
But I think the part where they pointed out the events in the first movie of how in one part of that movie, he was this type of person, this type of behavior. And then on the other part, it was like he snapped. He was like, it transformed, which... Come on!
Trying to separate these two, it just doesn't work. It's pretty poorly done. Okay. I will say the thing that I thought had the most promise was Harley Quinn. Since a lot of this is basically her origin story, they did set up some interesting ideas. Like how she's kind of just manipulating the Joker. Like, she lies to him a lot in order to get close to him and kind of goad him in certain directions, because that's what she fell in love with, was the Joker and, like, the idea of the Joker. So she's constantly, like, manipulating him, and it's, I think, could have been an interesting dynamic if it wasn't always just in sing-song fashion, and if it wasn't always just, like, hammered home what she's doing towards the end. And the ending of this movie super sucks. The ending of this movie is, like, actually atrocious. So the courtroom drama is starting to wrap up. He's clearly not winning. He eventually then goes to the jury and starts talking about how, you know, the Joker's not real. It was never real. It's always been Arthur. Which is like that big moment, like, oh, he's been faking it this whole time. There is no, like, second, you know, personality or anything. The Joker's, it's a complete fucking ruse. It's a sham. It's always just Arthur. And while this is going on, a bomb goes off at the courthouse. That was
surprising.
Like, that came out of nowhere. This whole movie doesn't have any, like, action per se. There's a couple things that happen in a fantasy where, like, the Joker gets shot or the Joker hits the judge with a gavel. Like, that all happens in a fantasy, but in the actual reality of the film, nothing like that happens at all. So this bomb explosion comes out of fucking nowhere, like a jump scare. So bomb blows up in the courthouse. Joker escapes. He just walks right out, and he's going to Harley, who doesn't really want to see him, because after what Joker said about the Joker's not real, it's only Arthur, she storms out of the courtroom. And she doesn't return his call. He starts fucking singing to her over voicemail for the millionth time, just another goddamn song, and she ignores it.
That's because that's their thing. That's their thing, that they were bonding. Obviously, it seemed like Arthur knew that he lost her, and in a last hope, a last ditch effort, he was singing to try to bring her back, but obviously it didn't work.
He leaves the courthouse. He gets picked up by some, like, Joker super fans who get him, put him in the car, and then he runs away from them to try and find Harley. Before he gets out of...
I think he ran away because those goons were saying that now it's time for everyone to destroy the city, along those lines. And then I feel like the Joker was like, he doesn't want to do that. He was Arthur, so instead of, like, staying in that car, he just decided to run and escape that path.
Out of their car though, there's statements made by the two people in Joker makeup about how like the whole city's gonna burn,
Mm-hmm.
this and that, and it seems like Arthur Fleck has like regret and doesn't agree with that. He
Oh,
gets
okay.
out of the car and starts running, and I think that moment, and he's also getting chased by the Joker's like, "We still we love you, Joker." I think that's a moment that's supposed to be, it's very on the nose, supposed to be for the audience to be like, oh, people are relating to the most extreme, unhinged parts of the Joker and using it as a platform for violence type thing. And Arthur is running away from that, trying to find Harley to start a life of love with her. When he finally finds her on the iconic staircase, she wants nothing to do with him. She tells
Yeah,
him that it's all just a fantasy. It's always been the Joker that she loves, not Arthur, and
that's
he
crazy.
threw away that fantasy, so the Joker's not real. It's only Arthur, and she leaves. It's all just a fantasy. Get the fuck
As a hopeless romantic, that part I was like, oh, that's so sad, man.
out of here, Buster. Then he gets taken back into jail, thrown back in Arkham, and then he gets told he has a visitor, walks down a hallway, and this random dude who we'd only seen a couple of glimpses of throughout the movie, like
Mhm.
looking on like menacingly throughout the film occasionally, uh, talks to him in the hallway asking if he can tell him a joke. And he's like, all right, yeah, if it's a quick joke. And he's like, I'll make it quick. And the joke basically just ends with him saying, gets what he deserves, and then shanks him like 5 or 6 times, and the Joker dies. Arthur Fleck collapses and dies. And in the background, it's blurred to make it really mysterious and very cinematic. The guy who stabbed him, this random fucking psychopath, is now cutting his face in the shape of a smile. And it's, I believe, alluding to Heath Ledger's Joker, who had the scars in the shape of a smile. And if that is the case, I am pretty sure that's what it's trying to do there. If that is what it's actually aiming for, that is just insultingly shit. That, it doesn't fit at all. Like, you can start picking apart, like, the timeline till the cows come home, but even the context of this film, it just doesn't fucking fit at all. It is a terrible conclusion. Even setting aside the absurdity of this alluding to Heath Ledger's Joker, how this psychopath is now going to take on the mantle of the Joker
I'm finna crash out trying to resist the pause.
and be what we saw in The Dark Knight, even setting aside the lunacy of that, this movie actually just goes nowhere. It ends in the exact
Cause it's the ending. It's the fucking ending.
same place it started without really much changing, and he just dies in a hallway to a random guy. There is no comeuppance for some bad people in this film. For example,
For people that don't know my theory, I said in the other video, but I feel like the ending was like this movie. I feel like it referenced a lot of actual murderers and all that. Like in New Rockstar, they referenced the clown guy. They referenced some other people. And the ending, it kind of reminded me of Jeffrey Dahmer's ending in his real story, where he got killed by a prisoner. So that's why I found it enjoyable, in my opinion.
guards. Towards the end of the movie, there is a scene where the guards snap on Arthur after seeing him in the courtroom. They assault him, brutalize him, and there is an implied rape of Arthur by the guards.
Okay.
And the guards just kind of tip their hat to him at the end. That's it. They don't get any like punishment for that or anything, which should
Yeah, because I mean, you know, when Arthur was gonna give his closing statements, I thought he was going to call them out, and I was assuming that was gonna be the case because how Arthur was looking in the camera, and then it panned to the main cop that abused him, but I guess he just never mentioned it.
just that's not a satisfying conclusion. Arthur is a bad guy. The Joker is a villain. But I don't think like it's necessarily the right call to have other villains beat him up, rape him, and those villains are fine at the end of the movie. Like there should have been a moment where the Joker comes out and he kills those guards for that or something to that effect. Like it's just this movie, it really feels like Todd Phillips hated the character he made, so wanted to unmake the character like as
Aiden?
best he could. It's just so weird the direction this movie goes. And beforehand, I know Todd tried to say that he believed music was like an integral part to exploring Arthur as like the complex
It was,
character.
and it is.
I'm calling baloney on that. That's some
If that was baloney, then why you include the dancing scene in the first movie? Why include him the music stuff? Whatever. I give up.
Fiddlesticks. No shot, because the music doesn't really explore him. The music doesn't really explore anything. It feels like it's here because Lady Gaga is here. She's so good at singing. The music, like I said, only sometimes even connects to what we're even seeing in the plot. Other times it's just totally isolated. Like, yes, it is a look inside of Arthur's psyche occasionally, but it doesn't contribute anything. It doesn't help with the understanding of the character or how Arthur sees himself, really, outside of like a couple of isolated instances of these sequences. Otherwise, they're just musicals for the sake of it. And it just feels worthless. It's just so odd to take it in that direction. What I truly believed happened here is Todd Phillips made a great movie with the Joker one. That movie was incredible. I liked it a lot. Most people liked it a lot. It's a very well done film. And that movie made significantly more money than Todd and the executives were expecting. So he got that call, offered a big check, and said, fuck it. Fine. I'll phone in a sequel. And he did. But instead of just doing what most people do for an uninspired sequel where they kind of just repeat what the first one did a little worse for the second, he took it in the most unconventional route ever just to be quirky. Like, he took it in this completely different direction and did it terribly. Again, it's not like the worst movie I've ever seen. It's not even the worst sequel I've ever seen, but it is the most confusing one because there's no reason for it to exist. A, it's there just because money, a lot of money from the first one. We need the second one to hopefully get even more money from those piggy banks. And B,
Yeah, because like for me, honestly, if it was like bad, I'll be the main shit talker, or I would just be shit talking it no matter what because of how much I loved the first one. But I don't know, man. I guess it just might be me. Because I mean, I feel like I related quite a bit with the first one, and then the second one, it just made sense. So
why in the fuck does it seem to have such a grudge against the first movie? Like I said multiple times now, it actually just feels like they took that character and broke it. Like, actually just like completely shat on what they built up for this character in the 1st movie. Instead of expanding on it, growing it, or even exploring it in a different way, they just redid it and wiped their ass with most of what they tried to establish in the first. It just doesn't make sense. And even when it has like an interesting idea or two, like there were a couple moments in this film where I was like, oh, this is building up to something that could be cool. And then it goes to an unrelated musical number, kills its own momentum, comes back, and it's in a totally different spot. The movie's just choppy. Like, it is just choppy. So even when they have something that's
not gonna lie, I kind of agree with him. I think it's more to dive deeper into Arthur's sidekick with music, but none of the music in this video really does that. It feels like it's just being a musical to be a musical. Like, they had the golden idea, but just didn't portray it well.
Starting to develop, it ruins it with a musical, and then never comes back to that momentum it was building. So like, it just doesn't.
That's true, I guess. I mean, for me, whenever I watch music, I don't really pay attention to the lyrics. Or whenever I listen to music that's in a movie, I don't really pay attention to the lyrics. My brain just automatically shuts off and just listens to the music sometimes. And, you know, there were some moments where it was like, it was just singing a song, I guess like a different type of song, either an oldies type of song or like whatever. And it's more of like you have to pay attention to the lyrics, and there's like deeper meaning into the lyrics that relates to what's going on and all that. So
it just doesn't work very well. There's a couple of things to like about it, like with the performances of some of the actors here for sure. There are some very cool visual moments. Like I said, in the courtroom with Gary and Arthur, that is a very strong scene. Like, that whole sequence is very powerful. But
and dude, why did they have to pan to show that he was sitting on a phone book? Come on, man.
Outside of like these very rare instances of this film, there's just not a whole lot to like. So yeah, I don't really give number reviews to things anymore. I always just answer the question, is it worth watching? And for Joker Folie Adieu, Joker 2, no. I don't think it's worth watching. It actually just feels like a waste of time. It feels like this is a film that has no reason to exist. It never wanted to exist, but had to because of money. So I don't think it's worth watching, and that's disappointing. It's really about it. So yeah.
Try my best not to crash out. Because I went to go watch it in the theaters and I kind of just had the same problem. None of the music really correlate to Arthur at all. Other than that, though, I did enjoy the movie. I do agree that this movie is just super unneeded, but it wasn't that bad, and it wasn't that good either. Man, I don't get it, man. I genuinely love the movie. I feel like it's just I don't know. Maybe it's just like maybe it's just the maybe it's just people that either currently or previously felt lonely and felt depressed and felt like that type of stuff. Watching the first movie, you could relate a lot into that, and you could see a little of yourself in that
Jinkies,
movie,
that was
in the first
not good.
movie,
I had a couple
and
friends of
then
mine see it
riding
and
off that
did, and they loved it.
emotion, that
And I
energy
remember seeing a
to
lot
the
of the
second
positive
one,
reviews about it not being very
it
good.
makes sense.
And I
Like
just thought to myself,
like
like, it couldn't
I told
possibly
my
be
girlfriend,
that
like
many people like it.
if you
And
watch the second movie, if
it's
you watch the second movie without watching the first movie, it'll be like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is weird. And these DC and Marvel fan people, I don't know. It's different. Because they assume it's just gonna be action. It's just gonna be some shit like that. It's gonna be like that type of stuff. But this is more dives deeper into like mental illness. Dives deeper into like the depressing side of Joker and says like that type of stuff. So I don't know. That's why I personally love this so much. Um, no.
But this
That
is
was so good, man.
like it is just not
But that's just my opinion.